every hand. We've got something for you. Now everybody, let's say hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, plant. Welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello, plant. And every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand. We've got something for you, just for you. In the morning sun, where the flowers bloom, colors burst like a painter's dream come true. Roses red and violets blue, every petal whispers something new. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello, plant. Welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello, plant. In every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand. We've got something for you. Indoor greens and outdoor scenes, design your space, let your garden dreams glide. Personal touch with our garden design, free sessions to blend within your budget line. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello, plant. Welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello, plant. In every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand. We've got something for you. Now everybody, let's say hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, plant. Welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello, plant. And every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand. We've got something for you, just for you.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to our live Q&A. If you're new here, if you're a returning person, welcome everyone. If you are new here, I'll just quickly tell you about what this is. So our live Q&As is something that we do every Monday, same time, 12 p.m. to 12:45 p.m. And it's where we let you come with any questions you have, any problems, anything that you're struggling with. Maybe there's a plant that's dying, maybe you're starting a new garden project and you have no idea what kind of feature tree to pick. Anything related to gardening or plants, this is a space to come ask. So all you need to do is just comment your question, and then I'm going to ask it to Chris here, who's going to answer it in live time. So if you get any follow-up questions, if there's anything that you want further clarification on, you can just comment again, and then I'll ask Chris your question, and make sure that you have all the answers that you need. So we do this on a kind of first come, first served basis. We are on a couple of different platforms, and so I just look across the different platforms and ask the questions towards Chris. So if you want to make sure your question actually gets answered, you want to comment earlier rather than later, because we do get quite filled up, we do get quite a lot of questions, so sometimes it's tricky getting to everyone. If we don't get to you, of course, you can call us, email us, come into the nursery. We're in Campbellfield in Victoria, and get one of our staff members or Chris if he's available to help. How are you doing today, Chris?
Great, thanks.
Amazing.
Looking forward to handle some curly questions.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to start off with, what's your best recommendation for a deciduous vine, northern aspect, Central Coast, New South Wales?
Central Coast, New South Wales. I reckon an ornamental grape would be fabulous. Or you could, ornamental grape or maybe a Chinese wisteria, both would do fine there. The ornamental grape's great because when it loses its leaves, it doesn't have any little branches, and it'll let lots of sunshine through in the winter, and they grow like crazy. They have great big leaves, and they give off a beautiful lush cool shade in the summer. So beautiful lush cool shade in the summer, amazing red autumn colour in the autumn, and then the sun's come straight through in the winter.
Fantastic. All right, moving on to the next question. I have a jasmine in a pot and some leaves at the top are red, rust colouring. What's causing this?
I'd say it sounds to me that it's hungry, and what you need to do is give it some fertiliser. Maybe it might even be time, if it's got real big in the pot and it's been in there for ages, it might be time to repot it into a bigger pot with some fresh potting mix and a nice big dollop of Osmocote to get it going again.
Great. Would now be a good time to repot it, would you say?
Now's a great time.
Perfect. All right, next person says, I bought a tulip magnolia from Hello Plants, but it's not growing well. What am I doing wrong?
Okay, your tulip magnolia, and this is true of most magnolias.
Or Mongolia. I assume tulip magnolia. I think it was just a mispronunciation.
I think, maybe just spelled it wrongly. So what magnolias love is they love hot sun, they love plenty of fertiliser, and they particularly love cow manure. If you can get hold of some cow manure, they love it, but Osmocote will do the trick if you can't get cow manure. So they love plenty of fertiliser and then plenty of water in the summer, and they like to be in some nice loose soil. So if my magnolia, so what I'd probably do is I would check out and see if that soil, like if it's those tulip magnolias, what they do is that they are able to be dug up in the winter. So say it's terrible, hard, compacted soil where it's growing, you might dig it up with plenty of root at the moment, dig a really big hole for it, an enormous hole, and make it 50% potting mix and 50% your soil, then replant it, plant it nice and high in the hole, and then keep it really well fertilised and well watered all through the summer, and I'm sure you'll be amazed at how it could kick off. So the secret is nice loose soil, hot sunny spot, plenty of water, plenty of fertiliser.
Fantastic. Next one is, we wanted to do 2 layers of plants on the front garden edge. We are planning on using hydrangeas at the back, and we want to do another plant at the front. It should act like a border with flower.
Okay, I think when you're doing a border in front of your hydrangea, what's important is that border be evergreen, because your hydrangeas, lose their leaves. Most varieties of hydrangeas lose their leaves and look a bit naked in the winter, and so it's nice to have something nice and full. I did a garden design yesterday, and I used an English box hedge to go in front of the hydrangea, and that would be lovely and green, and I wanted them to keep it 30 or 40 centimetres tall. But the other thing I've been using a lot in front of hydrangeas, and what it'll do, it'll sneak under the hydrangea so that when the hydrangeas are bare, it can look really quite full and quite nice, and that's lamb's ears. Lamb's ears, beautiful silver foliage, looks great when the hydrangea's in flower, goes with the blues and the pinks and the whites of the hydrangea, but then when it goes bare in the winter, you get a real luscious bit of sort of bright silver foliage, which sort of counteracts the effect of the hydrangea being deciduous. So 2 possibilities would be like your English box, and then the other one would be your lamb's ears.
Does lamb's ears flower?
Yeah, lambs, and actually that's the worst.
Because they are wanting a border with flowers.
Ah, right, a border with flowers. Okay, so lamb's ear, I actually don't like the flowers on lamb's ear, and it's their worst feature, and I would suggest cutting them off. and keeping the lamb's ear as a foliage. But what you should do is Google and look at a lamb's ears border, and it's beautiful and silver. But say you wanted a nice flowering border, I've been doing the Ajuga Burgundy Glow under hydrangeas as well, quite often, and that's good because I do it at the front as a border, but it'll spread back under the hydrangea and look really good in the winter when the hydrangea's bare. And that has blue, and it has blue flowers and pink and grey and white foliage, and the combination of the foliage with the blue flowers makes it a beautiful flowering border.
Fantastic. Next one is, I'm on the coast near Taree, New South Wales, and with these floods I'd like to plant out our creek bank with erosion control trees / plants. What would you suggest?
Do you know, that area is fairly foreign to me, and what I'd be doing is that you would, there'll be a local Indigenous plant group, and I'd actually take the problem to them. I could guess and I could have a go, but I think if you and in all areas, and particularly in those areas, there's a lot of people who are very environmentally aware. And I think if you went to a local Indigenous plant group and you did a combination of shrubs, grasses, and small trees, I think you could really bind that together. But and grasses are fabulous. You know, they get, like, trees are one thing. So I do a mixture of shrubs and trees and grasses, and I would be using your local Indigenous. Often they're run by volunteers, your local indigenous plant nurseries, but it's really good to support them, and those indigenous plants are going to provide habitat for birds and insects and plant and animals as well. So I'd go indigenous, and I'd use my local resources.
Amazing. Going back to the question before with the tulip magnolia, what is a good time to fertilise the magnolia?
Well, it's asleep right now, and what you could do is put a bit of dolomite lime, maybe put a kilo of dolomite lime around it. That'll do you for now. And then what you could do is you could put some fertiliser on in August. Say the beginning of August, so that by the time it kicks off, the fertiliser's down in the ground and it's utilising that fertiliser.
Yeah. Next person would like to know what native grasses would complement silver princess gums.
That's an interesting question. Probably my number one favourite grass would be Lamandra tunica, and that it's soft and green, and it sort of flows and moves in the wind, and you've got your silver grey weeping, the sort of bigger, harder shapes in your princess gum. And I think that something like a tunica would really complement it really nicely. And then I seldom, when I do a garden design, I seldom use all grasses, and so something like a nice silver creeping Aussie flatbush or rhagodia or creeping saltbush, this nice silver grey one, mixed in clumps through the tunica, could just make that look really, really nice.
Amazing. Next person wants to know, what are the differences between clay, sandy and loamy soils, and how can I tell what type of soil I have?
Clay tends to be very solid, and if it's a bit moist, you can actually mould it and make little objects or like say you can make mud bricks out of it. Also, it's sticky, it sticks together. And then your loam soil will have some clay in it, and it'll have some organic matter, and it'll have maybe some sand in it as well. It'll have a nice mixture of bits and pieces, and it breaks up easily in your hands. Even if it's a bit dry, it'll still break up fairly easily in your hands. And then your sandy soil would, like they talk about running through the hourglass. Your sand, you can just run it from hand to hand. It's just like dust that runs from hand to hand. And your sandy soil, to do well with your sandy, if you want to make a good garden in sandy soil, you'd use perhaps lots and lots of compost, a bit of animal manure, but mostly to hold moisture and to hold nutrients, you need a bit of organic matter. And then in your loamy soil, that's the easiest soil to work with. And then a lot of people, so just use your fertilisers and dig it over and mix it up, and a bit of compost goes good in any soil, so a bit of compost is great. And having your own compost heap, you can read up on how to do that, but having your own compost heap is a great way to dispose of rubbish without landfill, and at the same time make a really, really healthy garden. And then your clay soils, a lot of people think that clay is a curse or it's terrible, it's really bad. And some things will die planted in clay, but the truth about clay is that clay actually holds a lot of nutrients, it has a lot of good in it. And what's important is to break up your clay, and organic matter is a great thing for doing it. Lime can be very good, quicklime particularly. Dolomite lime can be good for breaking up. So, but organic matter, potting mix it up. So if you get your clay and you mix it up and you break it up so that the roots can travel between the clay particles, because often with really solid clay the roots can't travel very well, but if you break it up with some organic matter and perhaps a bit of lime, you'll find the roots start to travel through it, and the clay's got a lot of good, it's got a lot of moisture holding capacity, so it can be a bit of clay treated properly is a real asset.
Amazing. Bree would like to know, what time of year do you stock the widest range of cottage flowers?
We do quite a lot all year round, and if I was doing a cottage garden from here, this would be a great place to do a cottage garden. I bet you that if I went round here today, I'd have 150 different sorts of cottage plants here today. And then on the website I've got even more than that. But I think you should come in a couple of times. Like if you want to make a great cottage garden, you'd come in a few times because it just changes all the time, and I think that I would come in, a month or two apart, and I'd come in 3 or 4 times and do it that way, and you'll end up with much more interesting plants and a really good range of flowering plants and a range that'll flower all the time. I've had people come in and pick all things that are beautifully in flower, say in the middle of February. They come in, they pick 12 or 15 plants for their cottage garden and they're all beautifully in flower. Well, it's kind of sad in a way because every February their gardens could be amazing, but the rest of the year it could be a bit dull. So, shopping regularly, like even though right today if you came in you'd be very pleased, there'd be 150 different sorts of cottage plants here. I think that come in, regular intervals and shop and be careful with it. And my mum had a great cottage garden, and one thing I noticed, I always was looking, I was a little kid and I was watching her work, and I used to ask her about it. I used to wonder when she could get a cottage garden finished, and she could never understand what I was talking about, but I was thinking that there'd be some point that you'd have it all done, all correct, all right, all working, and it'd be finished. But my mum was always going to the nursery, always buying by mail order and getting all different cottage plants, and cottage plants that hadn't performed or quite done what they said they were going to do in the catalogue, she'd be digging them out and turfing them and throwing them on the compost heap, and she'd be buying new things and always improving and making a cottage garden more interesting. So, and it took me quite a few years to understand that the cottage garden was never going to be finished.
Yes, very good advice. Next one, Riz would like to know how to grow Hardenbergia.
I think it would be easier to answer how not to grow Hardenbergia. Hardenbergia, there's barely a plant around that's more equipped to grow. Like Hardenbergia wants to grow. It wants to go. It wants to cover something. It wants to go berserk. It wants to do a great job for you. And I think dig a hole, mix in a bit of good soil, a little bit of fertiliser. It seems to grow quite well in quite deep shade, right through to full hot sun. A little bit of water to get it established, but Hardenbergia would be one of the easiest plants. There are different sorts, and the most popular one is your Happy Wanderer, and then the second most popular one is your Happy Duo, where there's been a white one and a purple one planted together in the same pot. They weave together and you get this beautiful mix of white and purple flowers. So I think it's so easy to grow, and if you were starting out gardening, a Hardenbergia would be a great starting point, and it's a beautiful vine. It can be used as a ground cover. It could be used with a bit of it needs trellis, because people often when I'm doing a garden design, they've got a great big ugly water tank they want to cover. I'll get them to put up a wire mesh, a big coarse wire mesh frame, and then grow the Hardenbergia over the top of it, and it's a fabulous plant and easy to grow.
Amazing. Tracy would like to know, what's a fast-growing nice tree for farms near Cooma? It's for shade for chicken pen/livestock.
Yeah, okay. What came to my mind as you asked that question is a sensation maple, and I've got them really, really cheap at the moment. I've got them about 1.8 metres tall for $26.99, and sensation maples were used in Oklahoma. Not sensation maples actually. A sensation maple is an Aesynagundo, and I think they planted 10 million of them or something like that back in the early part of last century. They planted millions and millions and millions of them to fix the problem of the Dust Bowl, where they'd overcleared the land and it all turned into a dust bowl. And Aesynagundo, now sensation is a modern cultivar or bred, modern variety of the old Aesynagundo that they used to clean up the Dust Bowl, and it's really, really tough. And when you're talking Cooma, you're talking very, very severe frost and hot, dry, windy summers, and which is kind of a little bit like the Oklahoma Dust Bowl. It's very, very cold in the winter, very hot and dry and windy in the summer, and so your sensation maple is going to thrive in that climate. But the great thing about the sensation maple, shoots up very straight, gets a nice trunk, strip off the side branches. You've got a great shade tree there, forms really, really quickly, grows in the toughest conditions, wind, heat, drought, frost. And but the beautiful thing about them is that they start to autumn colour in January, and they'll be dropping their leaves sort of beginning of June. So one of the longest, and that's why they call it a sensation, I guess, because it is a sensation that it takes that long to drop its leaves and gives you so much colour for so long, because a lot of really beautiful maples can be a little bit fleeting in terms of how long that autumn colour lasts for.
Yeah, exactly. Riz wants to just say that I planted my Hardenbergia last year. It hasn't died, but it hasn't grown as well.
So clear the grass and weeds around the base, cultivate it, sort of aerate that soil, don't dig too deep and wreck the roots, and put a bit of Osmocote on it, keep it really well watered this summer, and you should get it moving.
Yeah. Tracy also just wants to say to pass on my thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure, thank you.
Next one is, can you please suggest some plants for front or for frost? I assume for frost, which survives winter and summer conditions, or maybe for the front garden.
Okay, so say you're in a frosty spot.
I think for front garden. I think
Okay.
I thought it might be a typo, but I think some plants for front, which survives winter and summer conditions.
I did a garden for a couple up in the high country where the frost is pretty bad. We expect say a -6, and what we did was we used some coloured stem dogwoods. You can get a yellow stem dogwood and a red stem dogwood, and then with that I used some beautiful coprosmas. Like there's a beautiful coprosma like a tequila sunrise, amazing oranges and reds and purples, beautiful colours mixed through it. And then together with that I used some orange sedge, and in cold frosty country just amazing bright orange. And then together with that I used some really lovely blue fescue. They're good cultivar like Elijah Blue, so Elijah Blue fescue. And then some oak leaf hydrangea. The oak leaf hydrangea, beautiful show of green foliage and white flowers in the summer, but in winter, in frosty country, you've got beautiful burgundies and beautiful burgundies and reds. So that garden would be lovely in the summer, but beautiful in the winter and really good for the frost. So I'll just recap that. What we're talking about is the red and yellow stem dogwood. We're talking about oak leaf hydrangea, orange sedge, and Elijah Blue fescue.
Amazing. Just while it's a little bit quiet and I'm waiting for some more questions to roll in, can you tell everyone about our live sale happening this Saturday?
Okay, so what happens is we've done this for a couple of months now. What I do is I go out to the growers and I gather together a range of items that the growers perhaps want to clear or move along, or that they're willing to let go at a certain number at a nice low price. And what we do is we put together what we call our Grower Direct Flash Sale, and these days it's on Saturday at 12 o'clock. And this morning I've been working actually since 6 o'clock gathering items and gathering it all together. And this week we're going to have a really big week. We're going to have some really, I guess maybe because we're getting towards the end of the financial year, some growers have given me some tremendous deals, and it's kind of almost like a grower clearance. And there's 100 items, and I think I'm at about 150 items, so I'm going to start culling them this afternoon. But what I'll be doing is what'll be in my mind is I want a person who's got a gardening project to do to be able to sit there, watch all the items, see the size, see what they look like, and put together their whole garden project at the flash sale. And that's why we do 100 items, so that there's bushes, there's trees, there's feature trees, there's weepers, there's hedges, there's borders, there's everything you need for a garden project. And by buying your project at the Grower Direct flash sale, you're able to get it all delivered. Spend over $300. Most of Victoria is covered for free delivery when you spend over $300. So you can order it all. You can order online. You can order over the phone, or you can just come in and order it, and have it delivered if you spend over $300. And you can put together a whole garden lot and do it on the cheap. So if you're maybe putting a house on the market, or you've got a new house, you can use it. And the thing is that a lot of the items are available for a whole week. What we do is that we put the items up at 12 o'clock on a Saturday, and we leave them up until they're sold out, or until the next sale comes up the following Saturday at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
I remember there was one lady yesterday begged because what happened was that the hydrangeas, she bought some in the morning, then she wanted more in the afternoon, and she was a bit upset because the hydrangeas went up quite significantly as the sale went off after lunch.
So definitely make sure that you join and get all those sales while they're still available.
And actually, if you're interested, you could we've got the last Saturday's sale is still up, so you could actually go and look at last Saturday. If you go to the front page of the website, you see it there, click on that, and you can look at last Saturdays, and last Saturdays will be up till Saturday lunchtime or until sold out.
Yeah. Riz wants to add a camellia tree in my garden. Which is the best one?
I love Sasanqua camellias, and if I had to pick a favourite, I reckon it's Pura Silk. Pura Silk, fast, tough, lovely sort of dark green, fine, beautiful dense fine foliage, and fabulous pink and white flowers.
Amazing. Janet wants to know, is Australian lime different to lime you'd buy at the supermarket?
No. The lime you buy at the supermarket is it could be a slightly different variety, but very, like if you bought a Tahitian lime and you wanted a supermarket style lime, you'll have that in your Tahitian lime. The only thing is when you grow them yourself and use a bit of compost and natural fertiliser, I think they're a little bit better flavoured than the supermarket ones.
Yeah. Tracy would like to know if you have any idea how much a pallet is to Canberra of the maples you were talking about, and how many would fit on a pallet, the Sensation maple.
We could price that up for you. I think you'd be up for $450 to send a pallet up there. And what's interesting is that with bare root, you could put 200 of them on a pallet. Like they don't take up, even though they're a couple of metres tall, they don't take up a lot of space when they're bare rooted. So you could put a lot on a pallet, or you could get that and some other items for your garden. You could fit, some hedging plants, and one of the things is that up there's quite frosty in the winter, and myself or some of my sales staff could actually help you choose the right plants for Canberra. In fact, when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time in Canberra. My dad used to grow a million little trees a year from seed, and he would pick most of his seed in Canberra because of the climate there really makes lots of good fertile seed on we'd collect ginkgo seed and all different types of ash and oak and all types of stuff in the streets of Canberra, because there's a fabulous collection of trees in Canberra. So I'm quite familiar with the area.
Do you want to also quickly explain what bare rooted is and why it takes up less space? Okay,
so bare rooted is for thousands of years, mankind has grown trees in the garden. Like before he had pots, he grew things in the ground. And what he discovered is that when they are dormant, which is when they're in the winter time, when they lose their leaves or they stop growing, if it's an evergreen, they can be dug up and transplanted bare rooted. And to do that, you've got to pack them in a bit of moist potting mix or sawdust and plastic, and you can transport them. And like, say for instance, if you were buying potted Sensation maples on a pallet, you might only fit 30 or 40 if you were doing it in the summer. and you'd still be paying, you know, around $450. But in the winter time, you could put hundreds of them on it and still get some other plants on as well. So the freight is really good. You're not transplanting much soil. They're easy to transplant, and so the bare rooted time season, like we've got some really cheap. The bare roots are only just started, and we've got some really good cheap bare roots available at the moment, yeah, so bare root, very traditional way of doing it, and I was brought up in a nursery where we did bare rooted, and I've been selling direct to the public for probably 45 years, bare rooted plants.
Yeah. Riz wants to know, are we still doing $100 giveaways?
$100 giveaway.
Remember how we were doing that, I think, in our lives months and months ago?
No, we've kind of stopped doing that.
Yeah, we don't really do that much. We've kind of moved away from what our lives used to be, where we more lectured on a topic, but now we do live Q&As, which is much more interactive and giving much more value to you as the customer. So no $100 giveaways, at least for the time being. All right, just letting everyone know, we have about just over 15 minutes left in our live Q&A, so any questions you have, get them in soon. If you do find any problems come up or you think of any other questions in the following week, just join us next Monday at 12 p.m. We do the same time every week, other than when there is a public holiday, which actually there is one coming up soon. But we'll be posting on our socials if we are deviating from the typical Monday schedule. All right, let's see. Next question is, which plants are best for improving indoor air quality?
My partner reckons the best one is spider grass, but I reckon that the mother-in-law's tongue is fabulous. But the spider grass is a really attractive plant, and what's interesting is that when I was probably in my teens, spider grass was the most. People used to have macrame hangers with little bits of pottery in it, and there's spider grass in it. And a new type of spider grass has come out, well, maybe about 5 years ago, and it's and the stripes are different, the leaves are different, but the beautiful thing about the new type of spider grass is it really prolifically has babies. And I went to a restaurant down in the peninsula, and they had sort of like little benches all around the edge of the restaurant with big baskets of it in it, and they had beautiful bunches and bunches of babies on long stems hanging right to the ground, hanging over a metre down to the ground, and it was really, really beautiful. And so the latest type of spider grass, and we've got it here now, the latest type of spider grass is prettier and more exciting than the old stuff, and a great one for easy to grow, tough, and a great air purifier.
Amazing. Tracy wants to know, do you sell chrysanthemums? I'm keen to grow them in bulk to sell flowers.
I think for bulk chrysanthemums, you would go to you could go to somebody like Ball, and you'd buy them in plugs. But Ball is a what's called a plug grower. They sell small plants in trays, and that's where you go buy something suitable for cut flowers. And they could. What's good is that Ball could help you work out your timing. You have to buy whole trays with, might be 100 or 150, 200 in the tray, depending on which tray size you choose. But you buy them, and they'll have a whole tray of one variety, but very, very high quality, disease-free stock. But also what you'll find is that the people at Ball could tell you which day you've got to plant them to have them flowering at the right time. And they can help you work out which ones are the best ones for cut flowers. And there's other companies like Ball, I can't think of the name, like I think Mystic or something like that. There's 3 or 4 of them around that and they have these highly mechanized plant propagations where they grow it in plugs and very disease free environment, so that you've got a really good healthy plant to put out in your fields.
Yeah. Next question is, what is the best hedge to grow on a shady fence for height and privacy?
Shady fence, I like sweet viburnum. Sweet viburnum's an evergreen. It's got big lush foliage and it grows great in the shade. And there's a few different sorts, but just the plain sweet viburnum's great. But there's other ones like Awabuki, which has beautiful red berries and lovely white flowers and the odd red leaf on it in the autumn winter. So Awabuki is a nice form of sweet viburnum, but just your plain sweet viburnum is wonderful. and it's a good fast. It's easy to grow. It's lush. It's beautiful and loves the shade.
Yeah, amazing. The next person would like to know if you've ever owned a Queen of the Night cactus.
No, I haven't.
It looks like this. Hold on. If you can see that. Hold on. Or if you, maybe, I'm not sure if they're wanting more information about it. Looks like that.
Right. No, I haven't owned one of those. That looks absolutely fabulous.
Very beautiful flowers. Very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. If there was any further questions you had,
That
they
looks
just
a
want
little bit like that one we did the video on the fruit.
the dragon fruit.
Yeah, the
Yeah, it
dragon
kind of
fruit.
does actually.
Let's have another quick look at it. Is that the dragon fruit?
I don't think so. It's called Queen of the Night cactus. Looks like that.
Yeah.
I don't see anything. I don't see any dragon fruit.
No.
I don't know if maybe it's in the same. Wait, hold on. This is its technical name. There.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, Chris has not. Yes, stunning white, pink, yellow, like dragon fruit, is a tree, same flowers. How interesting.
Yeah, because the dragon fruit flowers overnight and the flowers die in the morning, and they're enormous, spectacular white flowers. And we made a really interesting video about it. But they, in the morning, just as it's getting light, the flowers are they glow and they're amazing.
We actually have some really cool videos about that as well. So not the exact same tree, but similar, and very, very beautiful.
Yeah, followed, and what happens with the dragon fruit, those amazing white flowers, which are enormous, are followed within a few weeks by amazing, delicious fruit.
Exactly. Shane wants to know, what's your favourite Acer maple?
That's a tough question. There's so many of them. Wow. I think if I could only have one, there's one here called Nishiki Fountain. And the Nishiki Fountain has the normal big Japanese maple leaf, and it's not cut, but it weeps, and it gives off the most incredible autumn colour. But then that's tough. The other one, we had a big Yatsubusa here last year, and that had unbelievable autumn colour, and for a really long time, really interesting leaf. And the Yatsubusa has an amazing shape. It kind of grows. It grows naturally like a big bonsai. And I was in a garden the other day, and there was a big Yatsubusa there, and it was just shaped like, it had been not trained or anything, but it had been shaped itself into the most beautiful bonsai shape. So I'd have a tough time deciding between a Yatsubusa or a Nishiki Fountain. And both of those have really incredible autumn colour and really interesting foliage through spring and summer, and a beautiful shape to them.
Yeah. It's almost, more dependent on what kind of tree you're looking for, what kind of size, what kind of garden, because there's so many incredible Acer maples out there. Okay, next question is, how can I prevent mold or fungus in my soil or on plant leaves?
Fungus, first of all, like there's Bordeaux mixture, which you can make up, which is it's the oldest form of fungicide, and it's just a very natural product that you can mix up yourself. You actually have to mix it up yourself because it only works when it's freshly mixed. So, but you can buy. It's only 2 chemicals and a bit of water, but that can be a good way of getting rid of fungus, and that's Bordeaux mixture, rather than some of the more modern really toxic ones. But fungus in the ground can very often be fixed. Funguses are very, very sensitive to pH, and so if the pH is a bit low or a bit high, the fungus is kind of cactus. So a little bit of lime, if it's a plant that'll take a bit of lime, a little bit of lime can clean up the fungus in the ground quite easily, and then something like Bordeaux mixture can clean up fungus on the leaves really. And Bordeaux mixture is buy 2 chemicals, mix it up, Google how to make it, mix it up as per the instructions, spray it fresh, and it's quite an effective fungicide. And it's a fungicide that mankind, where a lot of fungus have only been around for 10 or 15 or 20 years, mankind has been using this for hundreds of years.
Amazing. All right, in that same kind of line of thinking, what are signs that a plant is infected or unhealthy?
It's really good if you can pick up unhealthiness or infection early. And I reckon that that if you make yourself sort of sensitive to it, I have hundreds of thousands of plants growing, and I'll tend to, like, you know, of an evening or early in the morning, I'll walk all over the nursery and look at everything. And what happens is that where there's a bit of a health problem, plants almost give off some sort of reverse energy, like some sort of, and you can feel it. And I guess it's a matter, if you spend time with plants, you can start to see, like, a lot of people don't notice that their plant's in trouble till it's dead. It's great if you can pick it up when it just starts to not look or feel quite right, you know. And so I guess I've sort of trained myself to kind of perceive a problem before the plant's dead, so that you can, or before it even gets really sick, so that you can actually do something about it.
Exactly. This next question is very relevant to the weather we're having a bit right now. How can I protect my plants from sudden weather changes? I think Melbourne can be quite notorious for that, going from quite warm to quite cold to quite warm again.
First of all, you've really got to divide your plants up. There's plants that are quite happy about sudden weather changes. There's plants that think Melbourne's fabulous, even though Melbourne's hot and it's cold and it's wet and it's frosty. And so if you and a real lot of plants, like most of the plants in this nursery, are quite happy with sudden weather changes. But then there's things like there's things that are quite sensitive, and so so the trick is to try and isolate those plants. And like, say with some of you, say you've got a potted grafted fancy sort of Japanese maple, you might put it where it's got morning sun and afternoon shade. You know, you might move the pot or something like that. But basically, I think the first thing is to separate your plants and decide which ones can take it as it comes and which ones actually need the shelter, and then work out what type of shelter they need. Is it that they're frost sensitive? I've got a garden in Shepparton, and up there the frosts are quite severe, and what I've found that we've got some nice big gum trees, and what I've found is that if I put the frost sensitive plants under the gum trees, I don't have to worry about them in the frost too much. And so you've really got to look at the type of sensitivity that plant. You know, some plants need shade, and you've got to put them in the shade in the summer. Some plants need to be out of the wind. You know, like say a Boston fern really doesn't want to be out in wind because it dries out too quickly and too easily, and the leaves sort of frizzle up on it. So it's a matter of working out the hardiness or the sensitivities of the plants, and then dividing them up, and then just giving those specific plants. If you try and do something for all plants, you'll tend to not do it, because, you know, some plants want the sun, some plants want the shade, you know, and you've really got to try. And one of the ways of, like, I was reading up last night on how to germinate Boston ivy seed, and they were saying that if you refrigerate it after you collect and clean the seed, if you refrigerate it, you're actually giving it the conditions that it has naturally, like, because the seed gets buried in the snow and then germinates in the spring, and so often understanding, like one of the really popular plants here at the moment is your lime lava, and if you understand that grows on top of Mount Buller and other sort of snow-capped mountains, and in the summer it's in hot sun, and when it's growing it doesn't like shade, and if you put it in the shade it goes all funny. And so by understanding where a plant comes from, like say the Boston ivy comes from an area that snows in the winter and it sits under ice, so you put your seed, you moisten your seed, mix it with a bit of sand, and you put it in the fridge for a couple of months, then take it out and plant it, and away it goes, because you've duplicated where it comes from. So if you don't understand what a plant needs, you can just Google and just see what country it comes from and what sort of conditions it grows in, and then you start to duplicate those conditions.
Exactly. The next person would like to have any recommendations for flowering natives in clay-like soil, southwest facing with plenty of sunlight.
One of my favourite, and you actually videoed this with me. Remember the Baranyong?
Oh yeah,
Baranyong
beauty. Yeah.
So Baranyong beauty, fabulous low growing spreading hakea, amazing flowers, Then you've got your, and that'll take quite a clay soil. Then you've got your birthday candles Banksia, really, really tough, full sun, no problems. And then your winter wonder grevillea, lovely low spreading grevillea with this amazing pink that's kind of like a slightly rusty kind of a pink. It's not just a pink, it's a kind of it's got some other hue in it, really, really lovely. We did those on the same day, the pink grevillea. But they're three lovely ones you could grow in a sort of clay soil, sunny spot.
Amazing. The next person has a home office that they would like some pot plants, but it's quite a low light area. What are some recommendations?
Okay, so Aspidistra is probably the number one low light plant around. Mother-in-law's tongue is terrific, and then we were talking about the spider grass before. So spider grass, really, really good for low light. Aspidistra, and then Aurelia is really good. Aurelia has a great big leaf, and there's a type of Aurelia around now which is called a spiderweb Aurelia, and that has sort of like a beautiful white pattern on these great big green leaves. So that'd be three really good ones for you.
Fantastic. The person who before was asking for flowering native says they have the Hakea already, and it's beautiful, so that's really wonderful. If you do want to check out that video that Chris was mentioning, you can head over to our YouTube channel and just search up Burradong Beauty. It might be a bit hard to spell, so I'll see if I can grab our link to it. But that goes for any of the plants that we talk about, or almost any, because we have such a wide range of videos on all our different plants. You pretty much can just go, I would say, to our YouTube channel, because obviously you can use that search function there that you can't with other social media platforms. And then you can just search up the plant name and you will find, probably most likely, a video. I'm just getting a link now to that really beautiful plant, and that we filmed that I think maybe like a year ago now actually. I believe it was in winter because I remember it was quite cold, but it looked very nice. So there's that link there.
I think that was what was so wonderful about it, was the fact that it was the dead of winter, it was an icy cold, miserable day, and this thing just glowed.
Yeah, exactly. So a bit less than a year ago, but yeah, it looked absolutely incredible and really giving you nice colour during these very great cold months. We're going to wrap it up here for today. I do need to check if we are going to, I think we're going to be live next Monday, but not the following Monday because it's the King's birthday on the 9th. So just keep an eye out for that, but we are going to be open in the nursery though.
We could do we'll be certainly open that day, be a busy day here, and I think what we'll do is we'll do it the day after the King's birthday.
Yes, so we'll do it on the Tuesday, so just keep that noted. We'll be going live next Monday 12 p.m. But the following Monday we're going to do it on the Tuesday, but the nursery will still be open normal time, so you can definitely come in. It's just because us in the marketing team don't work on that day, and that's why we can't do it then.
But come to my live on Saturday, and even if you're not buying this week, it's an education. I'll tell you about every different maple and hedge and all the different things that I put up there. I'll tell you a little bit about them, and you'll learn a little bit about those plants. And although you may not be buying this week, it could help you with your future purchases. Just learning about 100. I basically explain 100 different plants.
Exactly. So we'll see you either Saturday or next Monday. But I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you. Bye.